Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show on a Sunday night, NBA free agency eve. How you doing, Eric?
Doing pretty good, man. Trying to gather all my thoughts and just organize them because there's just so much going on, yet nothing at all, if that makes any sense, which I know we'll get into. But doing pretty good, man. Really excited about talking about some of the things that have been going on the last couple of days. What about yourself?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, been pretty excited this Sunday, just kind of thinking about NBA free agency. Start off with some rumors and some news in the morning. So we're getting everything together and I'm going to give you guys a good show tonight on that. But as always, everybody, I am the Game Injury Doc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries, and on my right is Eric B. Mack. We can be found at these handles at GameInjuryDoc and at Eric B. Mack on all social media platforms. We also want to let you guys know, please be as interactive as possible. So comment, it's a live show. We'll try to get to some of your comments throughout the show. We also have the YouTube page, the Hoops Rehab Show. So please subscribe to that and follow along. And we're going to try to schedule out some of these shows so you kind of have these things kind of in waiting for you guys so you know when we are going on. And then we also have the pod that will be released in the morning wherever you get your pods. It is the Hoops Rehab Show. But as always, everybody, we are ready to get it cracking. All right, Eric.
Yes, sir.
Big eve. We're getting ready for NBA free agency. This is going to be a heavy Lakers intensive show because of all the things that kind of transpired today with LeBron opting in, Dorian Finney-Smith opting out, and some rumors going around what the Lakers are going to do. So we'll start with that. But how are you feeling on free agency eve, especially being a Lakers fan and just kind of, you know how we go into it every year, like there's a lot of rumors, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen. How you doing?
Good. I mean, as far as from a Laker fan perspective, just definitely a little anxious to see what might be in the works. But I also expect to be a little underwhelmed, maybe to kick things off with free agency, because we talked about it yesterday. It's just so crazy that there's really only one team in the whole NBA with any kind of sizable cap space, and that's the Brooklyn Nets. Never really seen anything like it. I mean, usually there's a handful of teams that have some space, and often it's teams where they're probably not going to sign a big free agent. But because of that, you're seeing a lot of players opting out, but then looks like they're like a la James Harden, they're going to be re-signing with their team. Nas Reed and Julius Randle looks like as well. So it's interesting because Lakers don't have a ton to spend on, which I know we'll get into. They're going to have to work around the margins. They're going to have to get creative. The Ayton news we just heard about really changes things, because honestly, I was going to get on here and say I hate to say it, but it's going to be Clint Capella, it's going to be Brooke Lopez, and to start, and then it's going to be one of those, and then maybe we end up like making a trade at some point. But with Dorian Finney-Smith opting out, it does give the Lakers the full mid-level exception. However, I think it'd be nice to be able to have that and keep Finney-Smith. The more athletic wings you can get, the better. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now, with just not really sure what's going to happen, obviously, like many of us, but just hoping something does. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, when you first started the day, you're like, all right, what are the Lakers going to do? And we talked about this too. I mean, the most surprising thing is that there's only one team really with cap space, which is Brooklyn. And that's all because of the last couple of years, in my opinion, because teams are just our players have been really signing their extensions and not really testing free agency, probably because of the new CBA. So this makes this free agency probably the most different of any free agency we've had in a long time. So that being said, you're like, all right, there's not that many options out there as far as like who are going to be these top, like that. If you think about the top 10, 20 players in the league, this is not a top 10, 20 players in the league free agency, right? There, you don't have those type of players ready to be signed. It's rather those are going to be trades if they're going to happen, like a la KD got traded, LeBron opting in, but based on Rich Paul's kind of wording, it could be a little interesting depending on what the Lakers do. But yeah, you're going to have a lot more movement that way through trades versus actually teams saving all this money to sign a free agent. So that's the most interesting kind of component that we've had in this free agency so far.
Yeah, it's going to be, again, teams like on the margins, teams, hopefully getting a player that maybe wants to take a little less. I thought Nickeil Alexander-Walker would be the grand prize, but to be honest, I didn't realize if DFS Finney-Smith would have opted in, Lakers really wouldn't have had much to play with. I think like the taxpayer exception, and I don't think that would have been nearly enough to get Alexander Walker, who teams like Atlanta, teams like Detroit would be able to throw a little bit more money at him. Hey, like some of these guys, like they just sometimes you got to take a payday, and kind of like when Bruce Brown did with Denver a couple of years back. And so somebody just comes forward and gives 2 years, 3 years, 15 to 20 million each year, and so he'll probably get something like that, but we'll see. But yeah, definitely it's interesting because it's not this big heavy hitter that's going to be signed, we know that, but it's those players that really make your roster depth that much better that are going to be huge pickups during this time frame.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think we should probably get into it first, but let's get into LeBron news this morning that he was opting in to his $52 million contract, 52.6, and he will be evaluating his future with the Lakers. And there were some, I wouldn't say cryptic remarks by Rich Paul, but there were some remarks by Rich Paul that said he knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance at winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we've had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. So I'll pass the mic to you, Eric. When you hear that, what was your feeling on that and just your reaction?
I have, definitely a few reactions to that. I maybe innocently enough was thinking, okay, he's going to opt in because it's most likely going to be his last season, and let's just go with it. And hey, if he decides to be a free agent next year and go at it again, then so be it. But of course, this news had to drop where it's very cryptic, but it's kind of getting real. I think like we've always suspected it, but this is the first time where I've actually felt like there is a chance that Lakers could move on from LeBron. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's probably not. But this is the first real chance of it. And so my thoughts are Lakers are in a weird spot where they're kind of picking up the pieces of the last few years trying to build a roster around LeBron to get back to championship level, to all of a sudden on a dime trading for Luka and then now really building for his future. It is it's a tough spot to be in. I don't think it's an easy spot to be in. And so I think that's what we're seeing here. In my opinion, I think LeBron, look, he couldn't, because I'm sure some people are thinking like, well, if he didn't want to be on the Lakers, he could have just not opted in. We just said the Nets are the only team with any cap space. He was not going to be going to the Nets, right?
He ain't going to the Nets.
He ain't going to Brooklyn. He ain't going to the state of New York.
He might be going to New York, but he ain't going to Brooklyn.
Yep. So that was there, right? If he as hopefully most of you know, or if you don't, he has a no trade clause. So if he opts in, that still holds. If he opts out, signs a new deal, maybe the Lakers and LeBron talked a new deal. I'm pretty sure they had it on the table for him, but maybe it didn't involve a no trade clause. Now that they have Luka, they don't have to give him everything, and so maybe it's that. And so if he would have opted out and let's say Lakers would have signed him, they wouldn't have been able to trade him until either December 15th or January 15th, I believe, right? So there's all these things that you're starting to kind of look and think about where, wow, it's not just as simple as he wants to play one more season and he's just going to ride this out. It's pretty calculated. And so it'll be interesting to see. I think this is the first time where it's real, where LeBron is like, hey, you guys might have to show me something or else I'm out. And the question is, do the Lakers have to show him something?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my first thought was, I thought it was pretty surprising how blunt Rich Paul was with his assessment of why they were opting in. The reasons that you gave were pretty substantial as far as like money, and he's not going to make any more money if he opts out and signs with another team. And the only way he can kind of control the narrative, and to be honest, is really to opt in. Because that can control the narrative whether or not he wants to be traded or not, right? Because I think he's obviously earned that kind of right. I don't think they're going to trade him like they would have. I mean, we never thought AD would be traded that way, but they're not going to trade LeBron that way. They're going to work out something with him to know where he would be going. So I think that was part of it, right? So it's a negotiating tactic from him. And it's also puts pressure on Rob Pelinka and the Lakers to get some deals done in time for them to compete this year. Now, on the other end, Rob Pelinka, I think, obviously LeBron's done what he's done. He's served all his time with the Lakers. He's got him a championship. But his hat, I think, now lies with Luka. And so if that means his future is different because of that, I think that's where he's going to kind of put his foot in the sand in terms of as far as how LeBron feels about this team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the day we traded for Luka, it changed things. Yeah. And obviously, LeBron was All NBA last year. I know it's year 23, and so but he's still one of the better players in the league. So that's what he does on the floor. I hate to say it, or not hate to say it, but for those that don't like LeBron, it is hard to replace. And so, but it is probably time to start thinking about that. If LeBron just plays next year and there's no distraction about him wanting to get traded and things like that, and like I'm all for it. But I'm kind of, this is, one of the first times where I'm like, hey, if we can kind of get some capital for him, I'd be for it. Yeah. It just would have to be the right fit. And it's tough because if it's like LeBron's like he's going to limit where he wants to go, and he has that no trade clause. And so sometimes you don't get really what you would want to get because of that. And so, and also he is 40 and he's not going to play a lot more years and things like that. So it wouldn't be a big haul like you probably would expect. But hopefully it would be something. But at the same time, I'd rather obviously just have him play, and then we can just build a roster around these two for one last season, maybe two, and then just go from there. And just on a side note, sorry. So some may be thinking like, oh, maybe he could have opted out and they could have done a sign and trade. So if they would have done that, it really would have put other teams in like cap hell, basically. So that really wasn't going to work out. So this was the only way to get to a trade or get to another team. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but by LeBron opting in, he opened a lot of doors. Let's just say that.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you've heard or seen the video of LeBron at dinner and him saying, I ain't mad at looking at New York, and Savannah wants him to retire in a year or so. So when I think, if we were to go into hypotheticals of if it comes to a point where LeBron is going to be traded from the Lakers, One thing I do know is he's only going to a contender, right?
Oh, yeah.
And when you look at contenders, those contenders, if I were LeBron, have to be on the East Coast. Like, I just don't think the only other team he's realistically going to would probably be the Warriors. And I just don't think they have anything to kind of give the Lakers besides maybe like, Kuminga. But I just don't think they can actually do the salaries because they already have Jimmy, Steph, and Dre. So we would have to take back Dre or something like. It just wouldn't make any sense at this point. I think they've made their move with Jimmy, and that would never make any sense with LeBron right now at this point. But when you look at the East Coast, you got a whole conference that has been rattled by injuries going into next year, right? You have multiple players out with Achilles injuries, Tatum, Lillard, and Halliburton. So that brings down those teams' values. So then you're looking at, all right, well, who's really stacked right now and could contend? And that's the Cleveland Cavs and the New York Knicks. He already talked about he ain't mad at looking about New York. And we already know how he feels about Cleveland. And could you imagine LeBron going home again to finish his career to win a championship with the Cleveland Cavs? So those are the two teams that I think if anything shall happen or happens, those are the only two teams I think can happen. And I do think the Lakers could get value back from those two teams. What are your thoughts before I kind of get into players, if potential player kind of swaps with that?
Yeah, just to piggyback your Golden State Warriors thoughts. I mean, it was a thought about a year ago, but when they got Jimmy Butler, it really just put a nail in the coffin on that one. Just wouldn't work. So yeah, it's really truly two teams. It's one conference, right? The East, and then you got to start thinking about contenders. You're going to go through a list. It's not going to be Boston. We talked about Philadelphia. It's not going to be them. It's not going to be Detroit. It's not going to be Milwaukee. So wouldn't it be something if his third stint in Cleveland finishes off his career? So if it was any other player, I don't think Cleveland would even be in the picture either. But we know the ties of LeBron, being from Akron and all that good stuff. And so that's just, don't have to say much about that. And then lastly, if there was another team from coast to coast, you played in Los Angeles, you're going to finish off your career at Broadway. Knicks are right there. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals. So yeah, if it was even flirted with the idea, it would truly only be two teams. And with it being only two teams, like we'd have to see what kind of players it get back.
Yeah, and I find the Knicks position a little interesting because they haven't signed a head coach yet. And to me, I mean, I know they've kind of miscalculated this whole head coaching search, but I do think there's been some back channels to get some feelers out there as far as like what type of players would like certain kind of coaches. And that's what makes it interesting to me because like right now they're going into an NBA free agency without a head coach. We know that they're not going to be able to sign any big time free agency. Their team is pretty much stacked the way it is. They're going to have to make their moves with trades. Yep. And I think, based on cap and availability, there's some possibility the Lakers could be able to match some salaries and be able to move a LeBron. And I would imagine Bronny would be going with them in any type of trade because I can't imagine the Lakers having Bronny without LeBron. But I mean, who knows? I'm just saying that because it just makes more sense for them to go together. Yep. But I do think there's some packages, whether it's like Mitchell Robinson coming back with maybe even possibly like an OG, right? Coming back with that and us giving up LeBron and I'm sure some draft picks in that order. But those salaries match. And I think there's some ways to make that work. Now, when you look at Cleveland's end, I think there's going to have to be a third team in that. There's a lot of salary cap implications for both teams. So more than likely, you'd have to have some sort of third team involved in that trade there.
Yeah, like perfect world, it would be nice. Sorry, go ahead.
No, good. I was going to say, but they both have big guys that we want, like a Jared Allen or a Mitchell Robinson. I highly doubt the Lakers could get Evan Mobley, or else I would trade LeBron in a heartbeat right now. But it's no disrespect to LeBron, but like getting a young guy like Evan Mobley, I doubt the Cavs would want to give up somebody like that. But like a Jared Allen, I think it's possible, and Mitchell Robinson would be possible. So that solves kind of the big man dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it would be nice to get those pieces, which wouldn't happen without trading LeBron. But yeah, it's in theory, it would be lovely if it was just more for draft capital, just to build for those next 3 or 4 years. But we know how the salaries work. LeBron's making 50 plus this year, so we're going to have to get some salary back that's going to get somewhat close to matching it. And it's Luka's time, so it'd be nice to get some players that can come right in and produce. So yeah, it would be a lot of moving parts with Cleveland, obviously. But with New York, I think you put it out there today on Twitter, the trade machine and an OG would be part of it. And as long as Lakers can get a couple maybe picks out of it too, that would be, something that would need to be tacked on, in my opinion. Of course, this is all hypothetical. I expect LeBron to be suited up for the Lakers this year. It's just a little interesting right now. I know especially LeBron, from LeBron's camp, there's so much calculation with the things that he puts out there through his agent or himself. I don't know. It's like Lakers are a little bit handcuffed, so I don't know what they can really do. But they have to make a decision based on the future, not just this year. And I know us Laker fans are going to hate to say that, but it's the reality.
I always want to ask this question, but do you think LeBron felt some type of way about them trading AD for Luka like that? Like, do you think he felt either caught off guard, backstabbed? I know they, like, once everything settled down, he's like, oh shoot, Luka's here, right? That's a megastar. But do you feel that was anything that has affected his relationship, or just his feelings toward playing with the Lakers, continuing with the Lakers?
I don't know about backstab, but I do think it opened his eyes. Like, even myself, one of the reasons why we were able to get stars in the past is because we really do take care of them. We pay them really past the time we probably should. I keep saying we, but the Lakers keep, Kobe had a real big contract when, let's be honest, it was this kind of last year's. And we're seeing that right now with LeBron. I mean, LeBron's definitely, in a different stratosphere right now. So I think on that note, I think he was a little bit surprised, as I was. But I would imagine he has to understand the business of it all. And it wasn't trading AD for, Klay Thompson and like 3 first-round picks and one of the big guys, right? It was for Luka freaking Doncic. And so I think he sees like, oh, wow, it could happen to anyone. But he probably understands it had to be done. I mean, he would have probably done the same thing if he was in the front office.
Yeah, I would imagine he came to an understanding. I'm sure he was surprised by it, like everybody was. And, AD was his brother. Like, Rich Paul didn't know. Like, a lot of, according to everybody that's talked about it, there was a lot of not knowing of anything going on. And that's how this trade had to get down.
Yes.
But it just, surprising. I wonder if it swayed any opinions on whether or not he wanted to continue, or he's kind of like, hey, maybe I should get out of the way because this is going to be their future. Like, almost like, hey, am I holding the Lakers back from doing anything? Maybe it's time for me to move on and kind of go to that team and play my last season or two out with that. So it's just interesting to kind of see. But it is, making a statement that he wants to win now. Obviously, he's always wanted to win, but right now he's saying he wants to go to a team that can, essentially, is from what Rich Paul said. So Rob Pelinka has a lot on his plate tonight and this whole week of being able to get some deals done, whether it's signing a free agent or some trades.
Well, look, yeah, LeBron, we don't know for sure, but one could assume this whole time he's been here, he's probably been in the know about every single thing that's going to transpire. So if he really didn't know, which I know there's speculation about that, but it does feel like he didn't, then yeah, I think that probably changes his thought a little bit. I don't know if he's thinking about, maybe moving over for the Lakers. He's probably going to be thinking about himself, number one. And so, yeah, it's going to apply a little bit more pressure on Rob. We know we got new ownership coming in, and little do we know, he may have, the vote of confidence from them, and he may be here for a long time. But he does have to start to cook some more these next couple seasons, that's for sure. Even with the flex, he doesn't have much flexibility, unfortunately, but it's got to find a way to try to make some things happen.
Yep. All right, everybody. Before we get into this next kind of more talk about the Lakers free agency period, feel free to drop some comments. What do you think about the LeBron situation with the Lakers or anything in NBA free agency? We'll try to get to that before the end of the show. But let us know your thoughts on LeBron and whether or not he's going to stay with the Lakers or he's trying to get out of there. So let's get into what tomorrow is going to bring. And the news, that was pretty breaking a couple hours ago, was that Deandre Ayton has worked out a buyout and will become a free agent. And so he becomes probably one of the most prized free agents out there. Since, honestly, as far as big man, there was about Miles Turner and him. Like at this point, right? So if you're looking at those two, you would probably say Ayton's probably a bigger free agent at this time. So what did you feel when you heard that news? And did that kind of at least open up some eyes whether or not we can get our chance to get a big guy like that?
So, I talked a little bit about it in the beginning. It was either going to be the two that I thought was going to either be Brook Lopez or Clint Capella, not for a big number. But in reality, that's what's out there. Miles Turner is most likely going to re-sign with Indiana. They're not going to be able to, afford him at this point. And so in the wee hours of this Sunday evening, when Shams reported that Ayton was going to be bought out, $35 million, I believe, it brought some more hope. He's going to be going through like a waiver period that starts tomorrow, and it'll go through Wednesday, I believe, at 2 or 3 o'clock Pacific time. And so that's we won't find out anything. I mean, maybe we'll hear some rumors and some rumblings. But the question is now, what teams are going to be kind of going for him, and does he want to go to a specific team, and what kind of money is he going to command? That's what's going to be out there. And so we now know the Lakers have that full mid-level exception at the $14.1 million salary, I believe. So do you use it all on him? And then that means no DFS or what, right? And so that's just another wrinkle to this whole thing. But I think it's good news from a Lakers standpoint. Doesn't mean they're going to get him. I mean, we think we're going to get every player, but we know that it's going to be down to a handful of teams, and Lakers are going to be one of them, right? Yeah. There's going to be teams there's teams that are not going to really even try that are contenders because they don't need him, like Houston, right? They're not going to go for him. They already have big guys. So yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts when you saw that? And do you think the Lakers have a chance at him?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thoughts was, wow, nobody was going to trade for him, right? Because that was my thoughts. So like the only way we could get Ayton was obviously to make a trade. But knowing that he had $35 million on the books for this next season, I don't think a lot of teams really wanted to pay that. And so he started to realize the only way out of Portland is to work out some sort of buyout. And Portland has, they drafted the center last year, what's his name, Donovan Clingan. They drafted the new guy this year, Yang Hansen, right, from China. So they have a kind of a logjam at center. So it makes sense. I don't think he was necessarily happy out in Portland. So him trying to start his career over, essentially, is ideal for a Lakers squad, right? Because I think we could possibly get him for, say, the MLE, maybe giving him around 12 million there, right, for, say, essentially 2 or 3 seasons. And then that at least gives him an opportunity to revamp his career and then maybe work to a new contract when this new contract would be over. So I think it's a win-win for the Lakers because we get a chance. However, now there's so many teams out there that need a starting center, caliber center like this. Like I could see San Antonio would make a lot of sense, right? There's teams that, and then there's obviously the teams that have cap room, like Brooklyn. I highly doubt they spend that much money on him to do it. But there's always going to be some teams out there that might take that chance to at least have a guy in fold like him.
Yeah, like we spoke earlier about the Nets being the only team that has like big cap, but there are a couple teams that would have room to overextend a little bit and pay him. You can't hear me? And overextend him, and looks like the Doc's audio might be out.
Go out or mine?
I do hear you. Yeah, I do hear you. But well, we'll get that figured out. But there's teams like the Hornets, and it's like, man, is he going to really want to go to somewhere like there? But they could pay him, and so we'll have to see. We'll see. We'll probably hear some rumblings, and we'll probably soon find out if Lakers are his choice. You got it now?
Yeah, I got you. Yep.
Cool.
Just got a little disconnected.
Yeah. No, just basically saying like there could be a team like the Hornets, for example. Like if he's just looking to make some money, they may be able to overextend and pay him a little bit more than a contender. Then, hey, if he goes to the Hornets, then see ya. We'll probably never hear from him again. But I think the ironic part is he came from the draft of Luka Doncic.
Yep.
He was the first pick and Luka was the third pick, and they have the same agent. Isn't that something you told me a little earlier? So, hey, take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at least helps in the favor of the Lakers having the same agent as Luka. You know, I'm sure they can talk a little bit. But I also think if the Lakers have intentions of signing Ayton, that helps LeBron figure out if he wants to stay or not, right? I mean, adding Ayton and then you'd have LeBron and the rest of the guys, that would probably be enticing for him. But at the same time, if we sign Ayton, we're probably losing like a Dorian Finney-Smith, which would be tough too because we're going to need the wing defenders. But, you know, we need to get a big guy. And if we can get one besides, you know, especially a starting big guy, like that would help, like, say, for example, getting like a Capella as a backup then, right? Like you're happy to have that.
Backup is
or,
fine. Backup is
you know,
fine.
there's some other young kind of bigs that you can get as a backup right there, which would be pretty compelling. It would help a lot for the Lakers as far as depth there.
Yeah, I mean, Capella, Lopez, those guys, I mean, I would take them, you know, as a backup in a heartbeat. But if you were throwing them out there as your starting big, you know, getting through 100 games, right? Because we've got to build a roster that's going to get through 100 games, get through the regular season and get through 20 playoff games or whatever. Then, you know, we'd be in trouble. Like data shows the things that Brooks and the things that Capella do, they as the years gone on, it's like it's getting worse and worse, right? So Capella, not as much of a lob threat as he used to be. He's kind of still pretty good at rebounding. And so, yeah, I was worried that there was going to be it was going to be down to those two as far as starters. But I know Lakers are probably thinking we got to, if the Ayton news hadn't come out, I meant Brook Lopez earlier. Sorry. If the Ayton news hadn't come out, then it'd be probably like, hey, those Walker Kessler rumors, the kid from, you know, the Nets, right? Claxton, right?
Yep.
So, but yeah, man, it's we'll see. I hope we get some news here soon. But you know how it is in Lakers land. Sometimes when you least expect it is when it comes, and when you're expecting something, it doesn't happen. So
yeah,
you know how that goes.
It's almost like you never want to know Because like once you know, and we hear these rumors, you're like, oh yeah, we got to sign him. We got to sign. Like right now, every Laker fan's going crazy. Think we're going to sign Ayton. Oh, he's same agents as Luka. Done deal. Rap City. Right. I mean, that's not true. Right. It's not going to be that easy. No. However, at least we know there's a chance that we could probably get him. But also wanted to get into, because the free agency class is, albeit, yes, it's weak from top heavy, like as far as star talent.
Yeah.
But there's some guys that are in there that I think potentially could be a pretty good fit for the Lakers, and we could probably get them on the cheap. If I were to give you 3 players you want the Lakers to sign, who would those 3 players be?
Man.
If we're throwing, just throw Ayton out right now, because obviously that's the number one, like I think for both of us. But if you just throw Ayton out, what 3 players would you like to see on this squad?
Well, I mean, Alexander Walker would be one. I would hope, like, I can't say it's going to be free agency, but I would hope through a trade we get Walker, Kessler.
Okay.
And then if no Alexander Walker, maybe Gary Trent Jr. He would be there. Man. I'm trying to think who else. Who else is out there that would be even viable or even like a possible option? I mean, I already told you about the 2 bigs that like I really don't want. I mean, I don't know. I guess I wouldn't even want to like choose between those 2 because they're both very different. Like obviously, Brook Lopez would like spread the floor a little bit, while his just defensive numbers are just really bad. I mean, rebounding numbers are really bad. Where Capella is still an elite rebounder, he's not going to provide a lot of offensive punch. But I don't know. What do you have 3 in mind?
Yeah, I mean, if I were going to go with the Lakers need a backup point guard, and this for me, this is with LeBron still in mind. I would sign Chris Paul. I think having him as a backup and a mentor. I mean, not that Luka needs a mentor, but just like having that kind of mindset from how he sees the game will only help Luka. Right, it won't hurt him. He knows his role in this league right now. I mean, he played 82 games last year in his 20th season, so he's pretty durable as far as like this past season or 2. I know he's had some big injuries at wrong times, like especially in the playoffs, but I don't think he's gonna have to handle the load obviously like that anymore. So getting some, huge bench minutes out of him, and when we need him to start, he could start if need be. So that would be one for sure. I do like the Gary Trent, but if it's not Gary Trent, somebody like a Tim Hardaway Jr. Is a free agent. I think he's a rangy guard that can play. He can guard multiple positions and also just come in and provide like that firepower off the bench, and I think that's what they would need. So I like him. And then as far as a big guy, yes, the Capellas, it's interesting. Like I wouldn't mind him as a backup if we have Ayton. And that's what it kind of boils down to. It's like I don't want to sign him as our starter. If we can't sign Ayton, we need to make a trade for a starting caliber center. It won't be from the free agency. But if you're looking at for like a backup, I think somebody like a Chris Boucher from Toronto, I think he's just a rangy defensive big that I think can help. He's kind of reminds me a little bit of Vando as far as him being left-handed. They're kind of like smaller size, however, super athletic and can kind of jump out of the gym and also block shots. So I think if that combination, if we got somebody like that as a backup, that 10th, 12th player, it wouldn't be that bad of a free agent. But those are just kind of like some low-key guys I'm thinking. I think as far as what the Lakers are going to make the most out of this free agency is more than likely through trades. And if they can sign Ayton, that'll be their big prize. but their biggest transaction will be through a trade during this free agency. I don't think it will be a free agent. And if it is, and if that's all we get, that means we're probably trading LeBron.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, those are some decent guys where the Lakers are going to have to work around the margin. So like Hardaway, Jr., he was played pretty good with Detroit last year. So got to think about him. I think what's his name? Tyus Jones, right? I think I read that he's a free agent point guard. If you can't get a Chris Paul, maybe that's somebody like him you can kind of look at. I mean, of course, these are guys that are not going to demand like a huge number when it comes to salary. I think Jonathan Kuminga is restricted. He's probably gonna somebody will probably sign him to an offer sheet, and Quentin Grimes, he is restricted as well. Those guys that are gonna be restricted, they're probably not gonna go anywhere. Malik Beasley, we'll see what happens with him.
Yeah.
And so Dennis Schroeder, just kind of going through the list here. There was one, Al Horford was one that was kind of out there, and so man, thinking about it, I probably would rather have him versus those other two guys.
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's because of Boston.
If they sign like Ayton, Horford would be the most ideal back. Like, could you imagine if we can add Ayton, sign Horford, and those are your two center positions, right? To me, that just gives you maximal flexibility, and you're able to just if Ayton gets injured or Horford, you can kind of interchange that a little bit, and then also you can play such key minutes off the bench.
Yeah, I think that would be a perfect match for him, and he would come in and play 15 minutes a game or what have you, and be able to hit threes and just be another veteran. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not too sure if he's planning on retiring or what the situation is with Horford.
Yeah.
But we're gonna start to see those at 3 p.m. Pacific tomorrow. Some of those guys we talked about, they're gonna start signing deals, and that's the thing. It's like, now that we have to wait the 48 hours, it's the Lakers kind of wait. But I with these things, there's like the back channels. A lot of these players probably already know where they're going to sign. They're not supposed to be talking to them, quote unquote, until 3 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah. But miraculously at 3:01, there's going to be some announcements of players signing elsewhere. That's just how it goes. So, it'll be interesting to see where some of those guys that you mentioned and I mentioned land. Because you got to pick up a couple guys and get a little lucky too.
Yeah, I mean, the Ayton has to clear waivers in 48 hours, right? But obviously we'll be able to talk and figure out if that's a real viable option.
Possibility.
I think as the week goes on, you probably won't hear too much in the beginning. I don't think there's going to be, just for the Lakers at least, I don't think there's going to be a bunch of stuff that pops off. I think it would be just those couple of days that go by, and if free agents start to sign with players, especially ones that we thought we would have, then there'll be some concern whether or not are we really going to get anybody at this point, especially if we don't get Ayton. Then I think that's when the rumors will start circulating about LeBron and potentially going to another team.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that happening.
Yep.
If they don't make some moves here soon, next couple weeks.
Sure. All right, so let's finish off on just a prediction of how you think this free agency is going to go. Like, if you just had a gut feeling, what do you think happens with this Lakers team? Whether it's, do they get the big free agent, or do they trade LeBron, or make any other, or option 3, another big trade, right? They make some significant trade to upgrade the roster. What are your big predictions with this free agency period?
I think this 8 news changes things, and I got a feeling that maybe the Lakers get him. And then I can't act like I'm like a cap expert, but I would think maybe that means DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith is out. But if there's a way to, re-sign him. I was looking, Lakers have his bird rights. I don't know if that will mean anything because usually you can go over the cap if you have someone's bird rights. But I think they would have to trade. They may look. I could see them trading away someone, maybe someone with an expiring contract, to free up some space to sign DFS. I'm pretty sure they probably tried to do something. He's 32. This is probably his last chance to maybe get a 2 or 3 year deal. Maybe he wants 3 or 4. Lakers were probably more comfortable with 2. So I look for that. And then probably just a backup point guard. I don't know if I see Chris Paul. I mean, they kind of have like the ball handlers already, but he might be good off the bench. But I see maybe that. But with the Lakers, you never know. And I think like overall, we're just going to see a lot of players just re-sign with their teams. Like I'm thinking, for example, like Ty Jerome from Cleveland. He had a standout year, and so I'm just kind of reading that the thought is probably to like even like a player like that where they're like, oh, he's probably gone. They may bring him back because they can actually go over the cap since he's part of the team. So I think we're going to see a lot of like just re-signing with teams. With a little bit of movement. What about you for the Lakers and for everybody else?
I think this is going to be one of the biggest off seasons for the Lakers in one way. I think the Lakers are trading LeBron. I think LeBron wants out. To me, when Rich Paul said he thanks the Lakers organization essentially for the 8 years of partnership, and LeBron wants to win now, the writing is all over the wall. I don't particularly believe it's smokescreen. I think there's some truth to it. And I think the Lakers will try what they can to do to keep him. But at the same time, I think they're trying to move to the Luka era. They have new ownership. And I think you can get some value with LeBron as far as getting back a big and maybe athletic wing that can go with Luka. And I think when they do that, or if that happens, Luka will sign an extension. And we kind of talked about it before. What were the extension, like the best type of extensions for Luka to sign is more of a short-term kind of 3-year deal with the option on that 3rd year. So he can kind of cash in after or on the next contract after that. What were you thinking on that, on the contract extension with Luka?
Yeah. So the in terms of like where he has like the most leverage. So let's say if he just plays this year out and he's a free agent next summer, he can sign like the biggest deal possible at this time. But if he signs a deal where he signs a 3-year extension with that, when that 3rd year being an opt-out, he could be a free agent in 2028, where it is expected that NBA salaries will really balloon up. And so that is, if he is going to sign an extension, that is the rumored extension he'll sign, where, hey, as Laker fans, as a Laker organization, we know we'll have him the next 3 seasons before that offseason. Or he's like, hey, I can make quite a bit if I just play out this year, weigh out my options next year, and go from there. And so that is a scary thought, obviously, because we know what could happen when somebody becomes an unrestricted free agent. They could leave. But wow, big prediction on LeBron. I said it earlier. This was like the first time that it was put out there. Like, hey guys, you got to do something or I might be out. But I also think LeBron is not dumb and knows that the Lakers are pretty handcuffed to do a lot of things. Yeah. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you got to do this and this or I'm out. Like, we can't do that, right? And so it is interesting. It is a big summer, as you said. Could be a whole lot of nothing that happens. We could come back with the same team and maybe a couple players around the margins, and then that would be it. But that would really surprise me if that's the case. But it's Luka extension, LeBron leaving, who they're going to sign, Ayton now. So it's a lot.
Yeah, I just don't think the Lakers come back with the same team and with added a couple free agents, low-level guys, right? I don't think LeBron is doing that, right? So if that's the case, if we don't see anybody getting signed, or if we don't sign Ayton, we don't sign a couple, I think there's no other choice for the Lakers, because if they can't make any trades to add any talent without losing a bunch,
right,
I don't think there's a possibility to that. And so that's what that stalemate will happen. And I think there's some value you can get with LeBron. And obviously we want LeBron to continue and finish his career as a Laker. But I think when his agent and Rich Paul puts out a statement like that, I kind of believe what they're saying. And to me, that's my biggest prediction going into this NBA offseason.
Yeah, it could be a big smoke screen. It could be things. He is calculated, but it's just like at this point in his career, like why, may have his reasons. But yeah, him opting in, I was hoping it was just as simple as like, this is probably my last season, but we'll see. Nope. Of course, it's got to be drama filled. And so we'll see. We'll see. The next couple of weeks are going to be really telling as far as the future of the Lakers go. The immediate future, and then the long-term future, and so we'll be here for it.
Yes, sir. All right, so unless you got any last words, I think we'll probably wrap it up for tonight, and we will definitely be on our usual time on Tuesday. Or if some crazy news breaks, we will probably hop on that night and kind of break it down. So it's kind of on our schedule is going to be Tuesday, but if something breaks, we will be hopping on to make sure we cover everything.
We're definitely on call, that's for sure.
All right, guys. Great night. Get some sleep, and we'll be hopping on here again to talk about what the Lakers do. Peace out. The Hoops Rehab team is out.
Happy free agency, guys. Peace out.